This is the High School Football America podcast for August the 16th, 2019. I'm Jeff Fisher. Heading to Northwest Washington, the state of Washington, and we're going to talk a little Coupeville Wolves football here. And Coupeville is the name of the town, and going into his second year as the head coach there, Marcus Carr. He was one of the guys that retweeted my tweet last week, and that got him the ability to come on here and promote his team, his coaches, and everything else that we can talk about with the Wolves. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Hey, thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, happy to have you here, and I had to take a look because I had never heard of Coupeville. So you do what everybody does: you Google it, and you see a little map. And you guys are out there on an island in Northwest. So put on your ambassador hat here. Let's tell the listeners as we start where you're located, the town, what it's a little about, and then how high school football and the high school team fits into the community there.
All right, so Coupeville High School, we're located in Whidbey Island, Washington. It's about 2.5 hours north of Seattle and 2.5 hours south of Vancouver, BC. We're one of 3 high schools on the island. We're central Whidbey Island, so we have the smallest high school. You can get some good seafood out there, and high school football on Friday nights is perfect. I mean, the whole community comes out. They support the team as we're rebuilding our program. So, yeah, it's a beautiful area.
Yeah, and you, before I started rolling the tape here, you gave me a neat little tidbit, you're an Oklahoman. That's where you were born and raised, but you're in the Navy for a long time and ended up there in Washington. So how did a guy in the military become a football coach?
Well, it started back in 2000. I was still in the military. So I just started my way up from flag football. My wife was very supportive. We've been married for 22 years. And, with that strong structure at home, I was able to work my way up. And luckily, I wasn't on deployment during football season. So I started all the way from flag and just worked my way up until I got a high school coaching job.
Wow, that's neat. That's very, very cool. We're talking with Marcus Carr, the head coach at Coupeville in Coupeville, Washington. As you heard, it's a small town. Now, you guys are in, so talk a little bit about the classifications. I know 4A is the biggest. You're a 1A school, is that correct?
We were a 1A school, but our governing body, the WIAA, is going through a reclassification, so we'll be dropping down to 2B because of our school enrollment size. We have about 311 students in our school, so we're going to be dropping down to League 2B.
Okay, got it. So let's dive into it. You work your way up from flag football. You're now coaching here at the high school. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy, foundations. You've got that military background. I'm sure discipline comes into play when it comes into it. But when you took over the program last year, what were some of the foundations, those building blocks you laid down for the Wolves?
I wanted our guys to be accountable and hardworking. Discipline is a big thing, like you mentioned. So, we're very strict on that. We need to be at practice 15 minutes before the start. If we have a 4:00 practice, you need to be there at 3:40 or 3:45. So that way you're ready to go on the field. They hold each other accountable in the weight room. Nobody's joking around or messing around. Everybody's in there getting their work done. And it's a thing. I got a great coaching staff. And you got to have a good coaching staff. They're inspired by the game. They want to really just teach the kids the game, and they love being around the athletes.
And let's get some of them in by name because, you're right about that. What were you looking for in some of these men? I don't know if there were some leftovers from the previous staff or not, but how did you put the staff together? And let me know who some of the guys are that make things work for you on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I put the staff together with coaches I coached with before in the upper levels of youth league. So there's Coach Tyson. He's offense and defensive line coach, and assisting him is Coach Shaw, Gabe Shaw. And then I have 2 younger coaches, Coach Bobby Carr, which is my son, and Coach Bennett Richter. And they both played for Oak Harbor State Championship team back in 2006. So they have that knowledge of being state champions and playing high school football. We have another coach, Coach Bowens, Kwame Bowens. He moved away, but we're trying to lure him back for this season. And then we have Coach Casey, who moved up from our middle school program when it disbanded. And so he's going to take over wide receivers and defensive backs.
Talking Coupeville football from the state of Washington on the podcast. Marcus Carr, the head coach, heading into his second year. You mentioned your son there. That's got to be kind of cool. What's it like to work together for the good of a W?
And I think it's great. I mean, whenever you have a chance to coach with your sons or, even do anything with your sons, spend that time, it's awesome. He works really hard. He's watching film when I'm not. And, so he's just pointing out things and just, his passion and all the coaches' passions for that much for the game is just outstanding, and the players are picking up on it.
That's good to hear. Coupeville Wolves in Northwest Washington State. Marcus Carr on the line. And let's dive into you getting ready for camp. So I'm sure you got a couple of boxes you want to check there. Tell us a little bit before we get into the kids by name, some of the things you hope to accomplish in fall camp heading into the regular season.
I think what we really need to work on is our execution and just making sure that we can do the small things right. I mean, sometimes I think that we get caught up looking in the big picture without actually looking at the smaller things that help you get there. So, that's what we're teaching the kids is, hey, as far as stances and get-offs and everything like that, it's just let's master the small things and you'll see how it fits into the big picture. So, we've moved from a shotgun double wing into a spread this year. So just getting our guys on good route running and hand positioning when you're catching the football, quarterback in his drops, that's what we're working on.
Tell me a little bit about some of the kids you're looking for as far as, performance on the field and also leadership off of it. Give them the listeners around the country a couple of names there that you're looking for big things from.
Looking for big things from Dawson Houston, who's my quarterback. He's going to be a senior, and this first time really letting him just throw the ball around. Last year he threw it some, but not as much as he will this season. We have Sean Toomey Stout, who is our most dynamic playmaker on both sides of the ball because we're a small roster school anyway, so we tend to go both ways. Mm-hmm. And so he is an outstanding athlete, and we just got to get him a few more touches, and he can make some things happen. We got Andrew Martin, who is a running back, and he's phenomenal. He picks up yards. I mean, I can trust him to carry the ball in tough situations. And so we also have Gavin St. Ange, who's a senior lineman, Isaiah Bittner, who is a lineman, and we have Ben Smith also, who is a running back. And those guys right there, I mean, we only have 6 seniors, so just to have the underclassmen, they come in. We have a roster of about 12 freshmen right now out of our 26 athletes. So just to have those young guys that are also coming up learning from our seniors is an outstanding thing. And out of receiver, we just have Gavin Knoblich, and he's a basketball guy, but, when need be, we can put the ball out there and he can go up and make a play on the ball. So it's good to have him out there.
Yeah, it sounds like in a small school, it's always the case. You got a lot of multi-sport athletes there. Coach, flip it over to the defensive side of things. Who do you have there coming back and or guys stepping in this year?
Guys stepping in, we got Gavin Straub. He's a linebacker. It's going to be his first year. We kind of moved him from outside to inside linebacker, but he's going to do good things. And we got freshmen named Scott Hilborn and Dalen Houston. Those guys are playing corner for us, and it's really odd that our receiving core and also all our defensive back are freshmen, so they're coming in and they're learning on the job. And so we got 2 defensive linemen who are also freshmen, Kai Wong and Kynell Hart. They're going to be coming up, as well as Nick Armstrong. So we got a nice young core of athletes, and it's just getting them game experience. We went to camp, so they're learning on the fly, and they're doing a good job. Yeah,
that's going to test your patience, the staff's patience there a little bit. You got to when you got a lot of 12 freshmen, that's a whole lot. That's for sure. But tell me a little bit about the goals you've set. You talked about the boxes you want to check there, but what have you set up as goals for the 2019 season?
Well, for this season, what I really want to see is improve on our win-loss record. I mean, our program has been down in the last several years, so we're really focusing on trying to put a better product and winning more games. But I just want to see our athletes really just grow and be confident in what they're doing, and they'll make plays. They just have to be confident and just trust the process. Everybody says that, but they just have to, just trust what they've been taught and go out there and just relax and just play the game. So we're just looking because we're playing an independent schedule this season. So we scheduled some teams that will play next year as we move down to 2B. And so we're just going to see where we fit in that dynamic in that league and see how we compete with those guys.
Well, that's interesting. Well, the one thing I wanted to tell the listeners is kind of funny. You retweeted the tweet there, and then I reached out to you because sometimes coaches run just the team sites, which you did, and it was funny. You were honest enough to tell me that you were new to Twitter. And you weren't sure if you did it right, but you did it right. So the last part here is kind of your little stage. I've tried to take you on the little journey here so listeners can learn about the Coupeville Wolves in Northwest Washington. So the whole idea of the retweet was to be able to tell the story, promote, and you've done that. But what did I miss anything here? Is there anything that the listeners around the nation need to know about you, your program, and your community?
I mean, our community is great. I mean, we have, our stands are full on Friday nights. The community really gets behind us. Our administration, our superintendent, principal, athletic director, they're firm supporters of the program. And strangely enough, every practice we have a family of 3 deer that come out and watch us, and we have an eagle that sits on the telephone pole. He watches us for about half an hour. Well, I like to think he's watching us, but he's probably looking for food. But, and just one more thing. I mean, we got some media attention last year. It was a kick return. We were playing against a team named Kings. And I guess one of the family of deer had enough. And so on the kick return, he ran out on the field and kind of escorted our guy to the end zone on the kick return on the touchdown. So,
I love
that's
it.
our claim to fame. That's our claim to fame right now. We've got deer who come to the game, and when they get fed up, and they just get out and lead block for us. So that's always a good time.
Oh, I love it. I was talking to a coach recently on the podcast. Oh, I know where it was. It was in Alaska, and he was joking with me. He was talking about the evolution of huddle, and he of course played when it was still on VHS. I'm 58, so I go way back. But anyway, it was funny because he said, "Yeah, we're in Alaska. We're in the city, but a lot of people, a lot of our opponents are outside of the city. So we would get the game film in, and sometime it wasn't even game film; it was just hunting videos. So
yeah.
We've got a little theme going on.
I listened to that one the other day.
Yeah. So you heard it. Thank you for taking the time to join us here on the podcast, shedding a little bit of light on the Coupeville Wolves, and we wish you nothing but success in 2019. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's Friday night, and that means you can follow every high school football game live on highschoolfootballamerica.com. Just go to highschoolfootballamerica.com, click on the navigation tab where it says scores, and you will get a state-by-state breakout of every game played tonight and all weekend long. I'm Jeff Fisher, and you've been listening to the High School Football America podcast.